Hey guys, so I wanted to share my thoughts and opinions on why I think vegans are so angry. I think most of the reason has to do with the fact that we have our eyes open to a lot of things that society closes their eyes to. We've seen a lot of graphic and horrifying images of the animal industry, and a lot of the times people who are not vegans, they don't want to see that stuff, and so they don't seek that out. And it's not to say that vegans seek out those types of videos to just watch, but we come across it when we do our research for, things about our food, like what we can and cannot eat and why we can and cannot eat them. And I think it just becomes a very sensitive subject because we see the pain and suffering that these animals have gone through. We notice the suffering and depleting health of our fellow family members and friends, and yet we can't really do anything about it because you can't really see the changes or the effects that you're doing to the planet or for these animals by being vegan. You can't force your friends and family to become vegan to help their health. And so it's a lot of pent-up frustration, I find, for me personally. Anyways, that's how it is. I think a lot of vegans also become angry because it's such a huge thing that they're fighting for. And I mean, a lot of people think, a lot of non-vegans will say, well, you're only one person. Like, you can't convince all these people to become vegan, and you can't change the animal industry or food industry. And that's what becomes frustrating because sometimes you do doubt it. You do think, am I making a difference? Am I doing all that I can to help people and help the environment, help the animals? And then I also think that I tend to get upset when people approach me about my lifestyle and ask me questions, which is perfectly fine. I'm totally open to answering any questions about it. But when they first approach me with a joke or a uninformed comment about what I'm doing, that's when I become very upset. You won't notice it from the outside because I'll just laugh and brush it off, and usually that'll be the end of our conversation. But inside, I'm literally screaming at the person just because I find it very insensitive for you to say things like, oh, I could never become vegan because I love meat too much or I love bacon too much. I think that it's very, very rude to say that to someone who has made a deliberate change in their entire life in order to cater to their values and beliefs. That's a huge thing that someone has done. And to say such an insensitive comment is just very rude. And I know they don't mean anything by it most of the time. And I think what it comes down to is just a different level of education on the subject. And also maybe it might be that they're kind of defensive because they know deep down inside they shouldn't be eating meat and they shouldn't be eating dairy because it's obviously not good for your health. And society these days are a little bit more aware of the cruelty that comes with this type of food. But again, it comes down to what you will open your eyes to. I think there are vegans out there who are a bit extreme on the subject, and they will attack anyone who doesn't agree with them. And I don't think that's right either. It's everyone's own journey. They have to decide and realize these things for themselves. Like I said many times, you can preach all you want, but you have to do it the right way. You have to be an inspiration for them. You can't just, I said this in my How I Turned My Boyfriend Vegan video, but you can't just force your beliefs and values on somebody even though you know that it's the right thing. And so I think that's why vegans tend to become very angry about the subject when they're talking to people. Also, it might just come across as angry when they're passionate about the subject. I personally will try to always promote this lifestyle, mainly for the health reasons and of course for the animals. But I find that it's easier to promote the health aspect of it because people can see the evidence, they can see, you know, the science behind it, and they can also do their own research on it more than the ethical side, because people will not Google the truth behind the dairy industry and sit there and willingly watch, if you're not vegan, they won't willingly watch, you know, the graphic videos. You can correct me if I'm wrong for my non-vegan friends, but a lot of the times, if something about animal cruelty or veganism will pop up on your newsfeed, do you scroll past it or hide it? I'm assuming that the answer is yes, because I was there and that's what I did too. And people just don't want to be bombarded with that, and I totally understand. I used to think that it's not fair if I were to log on to my Facebook and immediately see, you know, graphic, gory, bloody pictures of dying animals. I didn't want to wake up to that. I don't think it's fair to do that to somebody. But then again, it's also the truth. It's also what people need to understand and be educated on. And so I think when people get the misconception that vegans are angry, actually I don't think that it's really a misconception. I think it is the truth. I think that vegans are angry, like I said, because we have our eyes open to things that people don't want to see and don't want to know. And so we get frustrated because it's such basic and common sense things that people still to this day do not understand. I do think that it is a lot better than it used to be. I think there's a little bit more awareness like going around, but for the most part there are obviously still people who ignore the fact of what's actually happening to our food. It's hard to have a conversation with somebody about, you know, veganism if they don't know the truth and they don't care to know the truth, and yet they'll still want to argue with you. And so I can see why vegans tend to like lose their cool. I don't blame anyone who eats meat. Like I said, it's just a matter of whether or not you open your mind to the truth. So that's just my quick opinion on why I thought vegans are angry. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.